This is ABC 7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. Topping our news tonight, unbelievable. As if we don't have a big enough problem with homelessness in Sarasota, tonight we learn of an allegation the homeless, in some cases sex offenders, are being escorted out of Naples and dumped on the streets of Sarasota. Sarasota city manager says he has proof and is filing a formal complaint with the city. The city says a Naples psychiatric and substance abuse center named The Willow allegedly dumped one patient against his will in Sarasota. He was left at the Salvation Army, but because he's a convicted sex offender, he was turned away.
Finally, we've been able to verify it. We've actually caught what should be a respected agency literally red-handed doing dumping.
The Willow did not return our calls for comment. The opt-out movement has gained popularity on the Suncoast, with parents choosing to have their students not take Florida's standardized assessment exam. But now, as a result, a group of third graders could be held back. Wendy Chastain chose to have her son Aiden opt out of testing. She says his good grades should be enough to move forward, but the state requires students to pass a specific exam to enter the fourth grade. And Sarasota School District says students can take an alternative exam, but one way or the other, testing is required.
I don't have problems with testing. I think it's an important fact that we need to have for our kids to make sure they are getting the education, but don't make that the sole basis.
His work throughout the year shows that he has made progress and shows that he's ready to move on to the next level.
A few parents who opted out of the exam are protesting in front of Sarasota County School District's offices tomorrow. The school year is almost over, and for most kids, that is a reason to celebrate. For others, it means they may not know where their next meal will come from. 3 million students rely on free or reduced price meals will have to look elsewhere. Florida's Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services is stepping up with its Summer Break Spot program. Last summer, the program provided more than 15 million meals to students. To find a Summer Break Spot location near you, visit summerfoodflorida.org. Governor Rick Scott today signed a bill dedicating up to $200 million each year for Everglades restoration. Amendment 1, which sets aside money for conservation each year, has been a center of controversy, with funds diverted to pay for water projects around the state. The Florida Legacy Bill will now set aside money to repair estuaries around the Everglades. It also sets aside $50 million for other water projects in Florida. It's a battle between the city of Sarasota and a 90-year-old woman who is being fined thousands of dollars for housing code violations. Now the community is rallying behind her. Marie Sikorsky has owned her home for 70 years. She had to move into a senior living center about 6 years ago. As her home began to deteriorate, the city began fining her $1,000 per month. Sikorsky doesn't have that kind of money, but now volunteers have come to the rescue. City officials say they still need to make sure that the home meets code.
This has purely been an effort to try to help the neighborhood, help the property owner, just bring a property into a safe and sanitary condition.
Why did they pick my house, for all of this?
The city says Sikorsky had dozens of notices. A judge will determine what happens with the fines. On Anna Maria Island, city commissioners are saying no to a funding proposal from the City Pier restaurant. The request for $500,000 to repair the Anna Maria City Pier was turned down with little discussion. The City Pier restaurant has leased the location since 2000 and has been responsible for upkeep and maintenance. The commission also voted down the mayor's request to renegotiate the funding proposal. Dr. Beach recently rated Siesta Beach as #2 in terms of beaches in the country, but it doesn't look like that after the holiday weekend. Residents are furious after finding the beach and parking lot covered with trash. Sarasota County says the cleanup crews were doubled over the weekend, but no match for the 22,000 visitors over the 3 days. Trash cans had been moved to the middle of the beach to walkways, but now the county is considering placing garbage bags at lifeguard stations. And that is too bad because that beach is one of our premier places.
Oh, absolutely. All the beaches here along the Suncoast are really quite nice, and that one in particular being the number 2 and number 1, a couple of years ago as well. So a beautiful weekend for beachgoers. It was that way again today, but we have had some showers and a few storms around. Some great photos sent in of some of the outflow from these storms that have been around in the afternoon. Get a look at these photos. This one was taken yesterday as those storms were rolling through parts of the Suncoast. They've been widely scattered and isolated in the afternoon and evening. Ann Palmer sending this one in from Siesta Key. And you can see from the radar review, we had a few isolated showers around near the coast because the sea breeze started to move inland. Then it got hung up right along I-75 into East Manatee County and Sarasota County, and then showers and storms really blew up and then quickly fell apart. There's still some rain near Punta Gorda and some just to the east of Wauchula and Arcadia right now, and that activity seems to be winding down. Some heavier storms that were around Hillsborough just about an hour ago. Look at that. And all of a sudden, there they go. Not much left of them. Afternoon showers and storms will be around again tomorrow. As we are in somewhat of a transitional from the dry to moist atmosphere. We got dry to the west and moist to the east. We're stuck in between. Right now, 87 degrees, the dew point 69, west wind at 10, and the pressure has been rising slightly. The high today, 1 degree above average. The low, the same, 1 degree above the average low, which is 70 degrees. And we're going to be above average for the rainfall for the month. We're already at 2.56 inches above. The temperatures around the area, low 80s right near the coast, and where it's rained, it's cooled. Mayaca City had some rain earlier, now down to 77. They were as cool as 75 degrees just an hour ago, 79 in Lakewood Ranch. They too had some rainfall earlier this afternoon. Well, the remnants of what was Bonnie has a chance to redevelop into a tropical depression, if you will, and head off to the northeast. The good news is it will be moving to the northeast as a trough of low pressure picks it up and moves it off into the Atlantic. But it still could bring some heavy rainfall to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Some big storms there as it pushes off in an easterly direction. That's the forecast model. And we are watching a European forecast model and another one which is suggesting that we may see another system pop up in the Caribbean and possibly have an impact on Florida early next week. So we'll watch that as it materializes. We still got a long time to go before we have to really be concerned too much with that. High tide will be at 9:53 tonight. Scattered showers still possible. The rain chance only at 20% for a few coastal showers. And then tomorrow, look for more of the same. A few storms developing along that sea breeze front. Some of them could bring some locally heavy rainfall, even the possibility of some small hail. And the extended forecast does call for that ever-present 30% chance all the way through Saturday. And then we'll begin to watch the tropics on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week. Alan?
I hope it's clear. We don't want that.
I agree with you.
All right, thanks a lot, Bob. And still to come, he has become known as the Trump of Florida, from calls for a partial ban on Muslims to his hardline stance on Cuba. Find out why Carlos Baruf says he is not like any politician. That story is coming up.
ABC 7 News at 7, weeknights.
Whether you're a homeowner looking for a professional installation or a contractor looking for top quality products, Sarasota Glass and Mirror can meet your every need.
For 42 years, Sarasota Glass and Mirror has been the area's premier supplier and installer of quality glass products for your home or business. As an authorized PGT WinGuard dealer, we know how to protect your home with everything from the PGT WinGuard impact-resistant windows and doors to shower enclosures and decorative mirrors. The Sarasota Glass and Mirror team has the knowledge to tackle any project.
US Med has great news for anyone living with diabetes.
If you have Medicare, private insurance, or prescription drug coverage, US Med will ship a new glucose meter right to your home.
And shipping is free.
My new meter uses only a speck of blood, so it's less painful than my previous meter.
If you have Medicare, private insurance, or prescription drug coverage, you're covered with US Med. We're welcoming new patients, even if your current provider can't supply you anymore.
I don't even have to test on my fingers anymore. I can test on my hand or forearms, and it's more accurate than my old meter.
So call US Med today, and you'll have a choice of 2 great meters.
One that actually speaks your results, or a meter so small it fits on the bottle of strips.
Act now, and US Med will include a free prescription discount card. We'll also send you a free diabetes cookbook. This is your opportunity.
So call US Med today.
You'll be glad you did.
Manatee developer Carlos Baruf is a successful home builder now running to replace Marco Rubio in the U.S. Senate. He may be a self-made millionaire, but even though he is a longtime political player here in Sarasota and Manatee counties, he is mostly unknown in the rest of the state. So how does he change that? As Max Winitz reports, by saying some pretty outrageous things, like calling the president an animal.
4 of the 5 of us.
Carlos Baruf back in Sarasota for the day after crisscrossing the state, tirelessly campaigning for his U.S. Senate bid.
Well, I think we're up to 48 counties, and by next Saturday, the goal is to be at 64, so we'll wrap up the state the following week.
You know, I've had it. The home builder quickly getting noticed around Florida, whether it's through his unconventional TV ads,
the experts want me to read a bunch of political crap off this teleprompter.
his scathing criticism of President Obama.
For 7.5 years, this animal we call president, because he's an animal, okay?
Or his sometimes jarring and controversial policy proposals.
Well, I think people are tired of politicians who are polished and are always worried about what's going to come out of their mouth because it has no meaning anymore.
Recently, Baruf told a group of 200 Republicans in Broward County that for the time being, no one from the Middle East, with the exception of Israel, should be permitted in the United States.
If they, who are the top law enforcement and security officials in this country, can't vet them, then why would we take a chance? It has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with who those people are and can we get them vetted properly to come to this country.
When asked how the rest of the world would view the U.S. if his idea were to ever come to fruition.
Right now, the U.S. is so poorly viewed as a lack of leadership, and it doesn't really matter. They would start saying that we're actually standing up for something because the U.S. has lost respect globally because our allies can't count on us.
Baruf also making headlines not too long ago for another statement on the Middle East, stating the Iran nuclear deal actually allows the country to build a nuclear weapon, a claim that's false, according to PolitiFact Florida. Yet Baruf isn't backing down.
They still have enrichment, and they still have centrifuges that are producing uranium, enriched uranium. So it really, all it's done is create an atmosphere where they have more from us, like every negotiation Obama does, than we got from them.
With Baruf, many say Florida is getting its own version of Donald Trump. Different publications have referred to him as the Cuban-American Trump or the Little Trump of Florida. Baruf may admire his fellow businessman, but he doesn't want people to compare him to the presumptive Republican presidential nominee.
His personality is not mine, but there's only one Donald Trump. I was brought up different on how to express myself. But it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, what we want is results in this country. And I think he can deliver results.
As a self-proclaimed political outsider, Baruf believes he can have the same impact, saying his primary opponents only care about themselves.
They're all career politicians looking for the next ladder up the rung.
Baruf hoping to move up the ladder as well, from his office seat in Sarasota to his seat in the Capitol in Washington. No matter how contentious his comments may be, he plans to continue to speak his mind in order to get there. In Sarasota, Max Winitz, ABC 7, your Suncoast News.
Thank you, Max. And in a moment, our roundtable.
They took that stress and that tension when I was particularly feeling very bad after that nasty car accident, and it was such a relief to know that I didn't have to bear that burden alone, that I had help.
Our goal is to not just get a satisfactory settlement on their case. We want them up on their feet, happy again. They've gotten their life back.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford because Sarasota Ford guarantees you our lowest price on every new Ford every day. Save on America's best-selling truck, 39 years running, the Ford F-150, Fusions, Escapes, over 800 vehicles on-site or online, all on sale. Buy with 0% for 60 months. And now, get up to 2,000 trade assistance. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
Attention, this is an important message for anyone who had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to their heart or lungs. Did your IVC filter move, break, or cause organ damage? The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, even death. If you or a loved one suffered serious complications, call IVC Filter Helpline now. You may be entitled to compensation. IVC filters are designed to prevent blood clots. If your IVC filter moved or broke and you suffered heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, or if a loved one died as a result, call IVC Filter Helpline today. Our network of experienced attorneys is ready to fight for you. You'll pay nothing unless there's a recovery in your favor. Call today for a free confidential consultation. Don't fight this alone. Call IVC Filter Helpline now.
Please call 800-897-6764. That is 800-897-6764.
Due to inclement weather, Carlos Baruf is unable to join us tonight, but here to bail us out and talk about his race is Christian Ziegler, the state committee man for the Republican Party of Sarasota, and media specialist Susan Nylon of Nylon and Associates. She's also covering the 2016 election for the Associated Press, and I want to thank you both for joining us tonight. Here's the question that I'm wondering about, looking at how Carlos Baruf has gone about this Herculean task of getting his name known throughout the state. Has he tried to do what Donald Trump has done in terms of saying some outrageous things in order to become better known to Republican voters at this point? Christian.
I've known Carlos for about a little over a decade, and what you see with Carlos is what you get. I mean, he's a very plain-spoken, outspoken guy. He doesn't really take political calculations into consideration when he makes statements. So I wouldn't say he's trying to emulate Donald Trump, because this is just who he's been. It's just, this is the year of the outsider. I think it resonates with voters, and I think he's tapped into that, and that's why people have really noticed.
But given that, I mean, to call the president an animal, there used to be a line drawn. You know, there's always been partisan politics, but there are certain things you do not do, and that would be one of them. I mean, so what has changed?
Donald Trump. That's essentially what has changed. I mean, he has changed politics, at least conservative politics right now. He has pushed the envelope so far that nobody knows that there is an envelope anymore. And you're right, there used to be a mode of decorum that you just treat everyone with a certain respect. But that went out not with Donald Trump. Actually, I want to say at the beginning, in 2008, when President Obama was running then, I mean, they forgot all amount of respect at that point in time, and have never gotten it back.
But you did not see Mitt Romney calling the president an
Mitt Romney was classy. I mean, Carlos Baruf is a builder. He comes from a whole different world, and in the world of construction, you know, the way he talks is just what's acceptable.
He's a successful businessman. They're more interested in getting stuff done than making sure stuff sounds good, which is the complete opposite of many politicians. They're out there, they're usually scripted by staff. They're scripted in everything they say, everything they do. And when you have successful business people that run for office, they go off that script. And sometimes it makes people unhappy, but I think it resonates with the majority of Americans that want to hear that message.
Well, it also gets them a lot of media coverage. I mean, the reason why we're talking about him is because of what he said. And that's why I see him in national news right now, is because of what he called the president.
Right, and there have been other things. There have been calling on a partial ban of Muslims from the Middle East, but as Max reported in his story, that not just Muslims, but that only those from Israel should be come to the country. I mean, are there certain missteps that we're seeing here?
No, I don't think that's a misstep. I think there's a lot of people that agree with that statement. I think there's a lot of people that look at the Middle East, and not just the Middle East, really, you look at any country where they're harboring terrorists or there's terrorist activity going on. And the point is not to just ban them. It's the fact that until we can vet them and we can ensure that them coming in this country is not going to risk our safety, that we should block it. So I think there's a lot of people, both Republicans, Democrats, people in the middle, that agree with that statement.
And I disagree. There may be a lot of people within the Conservative Party that feel that way, but I disagree as when you look at the entire United States. If you think about the Muslim population in the United States alone, that's larger than the group that you're talking about.
You even look at Europe. right? They always gave us a hard time for wanting a border. They have no borders. You've seen what's happened with the migrants there. It's risked their national security, and now they're talking about putting up borders.
Well, let's get back to politics in Florida right now, and specifically, where does the Republican race for U.S. Senate stand right now? There have been stories this week that Senate Republicans are trying to get Marco Rubio to
stay in the race.
To stay in the race and run for a re-election. His very close friend is the lieutenant governor, who is running right now. You have polls showing that Congressman David Jolly from Pinellas County is the front runner. Is that soft? Where are we?
I actually just saw a poll today that Baroof was a couple points ahead of Jolly right now. And I think that for whatever you think of Baroof, he's actually running a real campaign. I think what he did, 67 counties that he touched base in over the past couple of months, he's really taking this seriously. So Jolly, whereas he was happy to run, ride in front, he's almost neck and neck.
Yeah, when you look at the Republican candidates, we have some really great candidates. You have the lieutenant governor who's been involved for years. He's obviously served under Rick Scott. You got Congressman DeSantis, staunch conservative record in Congress. David Jolly, who won a very competitive race. You have Todd Wilcox, who has an amazing background, a great resume, and then you have Carlos Baroof, who's the outsider. So when you look at it, it's still too early to really be looking at the polls, I think, in my mind. We just got over the presidential. Now people are realizing that there's also a U.S. Senate race going on in Florida. And I think as we get closer to the primary, that's when the polls will start to matter more and more and more.
Well, two questions. So far, Baroof has spent about $4 million on television ads that we've all seen, not only here on the Suncoast, but in Tampa, Miami, all over the state. Number one, how long can he keep up that level of spending? And number two, what is he getting on his return? Because, he is starting basically from zero. One poll aside showing that maybe he's a couple points up on David Jolly, other polls still show that he's still in the process of introducing himself.
Well, with the exception of Sarasota and Manatee, his name was basically unknown throughout the state. So I'd say he's actually doing a pretty good job right now getting his name out there. Whether it's going to stay, I don't know. And I think whether Rubio steps back into the race or not, that might change as well. But if he can sustain the money that he's spending, a la Rick Scott a few years ago, I think he's actually got a good chance.
Now, there are a number of Republican candidates who say that if Marco Rubio ran for re-election, it may well impact them. David Jolly is saying that if Rubio gets in, he gets out. Baroof and others are saying that they would stay in. Where does it may not be a given that Marco Rubio can even win the Republican nomination. I mean, he did not win the Republican primary for president, we did hear even some Republican mayors say, look, he has not been working the state as you would expect a Republican senator to do over the last 6 years.
He would be difficult to beat. Presidential primary aside, that's a different race, that's a different level, that's a different ball game. When it comes to the U.S. Senate race, especially with some of these candidates that are unknowns, it would be difficult to beat Marco Rubio if he got back in the race. And I think he'd pull a lot of support that he had in the past if he did get in the race. With that said, everything I've seen, everything Marco Rubio said is he is not running, he is not getting in the race, and he's looking forward to going back to private life.
Leaving that door open just a little bit.
Well, he's also leaving the door open that he could run for a different type of office as well. Take a little break, recoup, and then run for something else, governor or whatever. So,
but the Senate Republicans are applying a great deal of pressure that we hear about that because they are concerned that in the presidential year, when Democratic turnout is at its peak, that winning Florida is not a sure thing.
Yeah, but he's already built up big name ID running statewide. That only helps. And he's got a long history. Obviously, with the presidential, his name ID is right up there. It probably can't get any higher in the state.
But should he not jump into this race, it's a wide open race between the Republican and Democratic nominees.
It is. Which is why
Florida's always competitive.
Yeah, and that's why they're applying a lot of pressure because they need that to remain a Republican seat. So they're probably thinking that it's just safer to stick with what they know than to run the risk of not, of a Democrat taking it.
So where does Carlos Baroof go from here? Does he continue to spend at the clip he is spending right now? And is his out there comments really resonating among Republican voters?
I don't know if it's the comments as much as just being an outsider candidate that I think is really resonating. But when you look at the race, who knows how much he's going to be spending? That's obviously a decision that he has to make.
Yeah.
But we have a long time, and these candidates are now starting to get the spotlight now that the presidential's up. So it's really anyone's race. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
One way or the other, Susan, 67 counties.
Yeah.
That's hard work. That's not just spending money.
Correct.
That's working hard.
That's the whole state, to be able to say you've gone into it. Now, I don't know how much time he spent and how many people he actually talked to, but he's showing that he's in it for the race.
And Marco Rubio had the same tactic where he went county by county, and I will tell you, he's meeting with small county meetings, and he's going everywhere doing it. So,
and we'll have to leave that here. I want to thank you both for coming in tonight.
Sure.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
For your plumbing, electrical, or air conditioning, and services is qualified, and service calls are free. And services.com. AND services.com.
Is your mop a dirty, disgusting mess? You need the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System, the only mop and bucket that spins the dirt away. A system that cleans practically anything and everything with super absorbent microfiber. Dip it in the washer side and the mess releases into the bucket. Then place it in the dryer side and push on a pedal. You get a clean mop head that's practically dry and ready for more. And your hands will never again touch a dirty, disgusting mop. The heads are washable and reusable. Get the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System for just 2 payments of $19.99. You'll also get a Sticky Buddy, the reusable sticky roller that picks up pet hair and lint and washes clean in seconds. You can take advantage of our 2-for-1 Pick It Up special and get a second spin mop set. Just pay additional shipping and fee. And we'll upgrade you to free priority handling. So don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-394-1524 to get your Hurricane Spin Mop double offer. So hurry and call 1-800-394-1524. Call now.
Did you know? When your dog stays at Canine Corral, the play is free? Contact Canine Corral today about boarding and daycare packages. Canine Corral, where the love is.
So what are local folks talking about today? Carlos Baruf, Donald Trump, the start of summer. No, Godzilla comes to the Suncoast. A massive alligator casually made its way onto the Buffalo Creek Golf Course in Palmetto. The gator is estimated to be about 14 feet long. The video is going viral, and here is what you have to say. Eloy Lopez writes, "See, this is why I have trust issues trying to play a game of golf with the boys, and then a dinosaur shows up to eat you." Roger Dredson writes, "Just a Florida native minding his own business. There are dozens of them out there at Mayaca Pines Golf Club. They just sit there and watch you play." Ross Smith writes, "Well, it's Florida. They are everywhere. I guess nobody has ever seen one before. Glad this is newsworthy." Well, Ross, Scott Prater responds, "Yeah, they're everywhere, but not that big. Dawn Thing is a dinosaur." And this whole segment is for you, Christian, because I know you like alligators. If you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7, and that is all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn, and a note to our viewers that coming up tomorrow, we have our hurricane special with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. We will be running in our regular time spot this tomorrow evening, but we will be back on Thursday. That's all the time we have for this evening.